big dick energy. Like, he just radiates the kind of guy that you want around you, the kind of guy that you can trust with your whole entire life. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Chan. So today we're going to talk about 13 Reasons Why. I wanted to give you guys my little review / analysis of the season. I have really mixed feelings about this season. I would say it wasn't my favorite, but it was definitely very, very good. It was adequate. It was definitely adequate. So I'm gonna categorize all my opinions into like 5 different sections. And yes, if you see me looking over there, I do have notes because I'm not gonna remember everything. But basically, I'm just gonna say what the season was about. I'm gonna wrap it all up in a few sentences. The best things about the season that I really enjoyed, the worst things, what could have been done differently, and my overall opinion of the season. And then at the end, when you guys finish watching the video, please go ahead and I want you guys to basically say how you felt about the season, whether you agree or you disagree with me. It's all good. I just want to hear your opinions. If you don't know, we definitely stand 13 Reasons Why. I actually really do love 13 Reasons Why, which is definitely an unpopular opinion because a lot of people don't like it. They have a lot of hatred for the show, but I'm sad to see it end, and I actually really do like it. So basically, here are all of my opinions, and let's get right into the video. First, what the season was about. So the season was basically about Clay, the main character. He's the person who usually keeps the group together, and he goes through a series of blackouts and hallucinations, and that causes him to make horrible decisions. So everyone is basically trying to protect themselves and help get Clay back to himself so he can continue to stay out of jail for framing Monty and covering up Bryce's death. But somewhere along the line, Clay's guilt-based lashing out and all that nonsense makes most of his friends believe that he's crazy. So it's basically like, is he going to lose his friends? What's going to happen with the friend group? Are they going to break all of them up? And that's basically the main plot. And also another plot line is we have Winston and the football team, and they are trying to prove that Monty was framed and exposed who killed Bryce. So that's the plot wrapped up in a couple little sentences. There's a whole lot more subplots with all the different characters, and we'll get into those things later. So some of my favorite things about the season was the school walkout. So basically, it's so relevant to today. They were protesting oppressive police systems, which is definitely relevant to what's going on right now with the case of George Floyd and the 4 cops that were on top of his body and the one that ended up killing him by having his knee on his neck. Just so tragic. And it's weird how kind of like life imitates art, or I don't know, it just seems like somebody knew that this scene needed to happen and it was relevant to what's going on right now, and they gave it to us, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Because in the show, we all know that Diego and Justin got into that fight, and that cop like slammed Diego against the wall and then pulled a little pow 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 on him, was really about to like pop a cap in him. And everybody was like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, who threatens to pop a cap in a teenager? Like, that is so embarrassing. And I'm glad that in the show, everybody walked out and protested. It was absolutely amazing, and I love to see it. And I'm glad they depicted that in the show. Also, another thing that I liked is Alex and Charlie finally became a couple, and both of them came out to their families, and I'm so happy Alex has found someone, and he doesn't have to focus on, like, what isn't, and all the drama that he's been through the last year, because they've been through so much, and I'm glad he finally was able to fall in love with somebody. Also, me and my friend were talking, and we were both like, you know what, I'm more surprised that Alex killed Bryce in that past season than him coming out as gay. Because literally when we watched the first season of 13 Reasons Why, Alex came on screen with his light, like, bleach, white, blonde hair, and is all spiky. And we were like, oh, okay, we have our gay character. We're here for it. We love to see it. And then he started dating Jessica, and we were like, wait, what? Like, we saw Jessica, we were like, so he isn't? And so we were just counting down the days to, like, he came out. And so now he's dating Charlie, and we love to see it. They are so freaking cute. Charlie is such an unproblematic king. He's absolutely my favorite. Okay, so then on top of that, we got to see that Tony got to see his sister Graciela. That deportation freaking storyline is so sad. That made my heart hurt, but I'm glad that he got to see his sister again. Caleb brought Graciela to see Tony at his graduation, and I'm just so here for it. Just amazing. Also, when Justin came to see Jessica as prom, they're so toxic. But I was like, yes, go get your girl, because that scene hit so different. I'm like, I absolutely love them so much, even though they're like the most toxic couple. The fact that he like always comes back for her is just amazing. The way they love each other is like, they go through so much drama, but their love is like undeniable, like crazy. Also, when Tony talked to his dad, and his dad told him to go to college. So this was like absolutely like so amazing. The fact that like we take for granted a lot of times that college is actually a luxury. And Tony's dad had to remind him that, college is a luxury, especially coming from a family that immigrated to America and then got deported back, just absolutely tragic. He just told his son that, this is a blessing. We don't have these blessings over here. We're not able to provide this for you. You have gotten a scholarship. This is a blessing. This is the American dream. This is all that we wish for you. And I was just like, oh, that is so cute. That's so cute. We love Tony and his family. They're absolutely amazing. Also, so basically, Clay finally admitted to facing anxiety and depression, and I'm like, thank you, because we've all known this for so long. And he like got up on stage, he's like, yeah, I have anxiety, I'm depressed, and he actually like stood up there and said it like a real man. He is on some real man stuff, and I'm like, thank you. Instead of trying to hide your problems and cover them up, you actually got up on stage and was like, yes, I have problems with me, and I'm working through them. And I'm like, thank you. Don't pretend like it doesn't exist, because we all know what happens when that happens. Just nothing good. Also, I like that Jessica got rid of her Bryce ghost demon type thing that was haunting her. And she was just like, nah, you ain't gonna haunt me no more. Like, she gained strength through that. And I was like, good, because I was so tired of Bryce and Monty popping up, trying to ruin their lives, like being the little ghosts, like in their little hallucinations. I'm like, yeah, we want them out. So she finally like stood up to him, and she got rid of him, and I'm so here for it. Also, oh my god, Clay reading Justin's college essay. Oh my god. When I tell you, I cried. Like, I literally cried. And I was just like thinking about Justin's life, his whole character's like from season 1 to season 4 and all his growth. And I'm like, oh, the fact that it ended up this way, but I'll get into that later. But him reading his college essay, I was like, oh my god, this is absolutely like, this is so beautiful and tragic at the same time. And it just shows that helping people, even though like it might not always seem like it's doing a lot in the moment, that you really can make an impact on somebody's life. And I was just like, oh, this is so perfect. And I cried, and the fact that Justin's mom was never there for him, it just kept beating in my mind, and it made it even sadder. And I was just like, oh, but Clay was his family, and I'm like, oh, this is so sad. Clay and the Jensens, just top tier, just so sad. They did everything they could. Also, I like that they talked about reproductive health and like STDs with the HIV/AIDS situation when Justin got diagnosed with AIDS in the end. And he ended up dying, like, so sad. But the fact that they talked about that, like, I'm so here for it, because the way that they said it just really stuck out to me, that these are all things that are preventable. But when we don't have these conversations, and when we're not there to set people up for success, it gets swept under the rug because we make things taboo that don't need to be taboo. If you have a STD, we need to stop making it so that people are like, oh, I need to hide it because nobody's going to like me. No, you need to stand on it so you can protect other people, and you need to stand on it so you can protect yourself. And so that you know that you're not anything less than anybody else just because you're battling a disease or an STD, that something that happened, it might not be the ideal situation, but you just got to work through these issues and lay it out on the table. So I love that they brought that up. That was absolutely like just so good. I'm like, ugh, thank you for talking about this, because this is a conversation that we refuse to have with people that needs to be talked about. Also, men seeking mental help. So like Justin going to rehab, Clay talking to a therapist. Oh yes, this show did it, and they did it really well. They did it great. Like the fact that when Clay had an issue, the first person he went to on occasion, most of the times, was his therapist, and I'm like, thank you, because a lot of times like mental health is so like stigmatized. It's like, oh well, you're crazy, and I'm like, no, no, I'm just going through stuff like everybody else does, and I decided to seek a professional. That way I can work through my issues with somebody who's licensed. Like it shouldn't be as taboo as it is. So the fact that they talked about that was great. I also liked that it was only 10 episodes instead of 13, because it really like it allowed for a quicker watch, because I didn't want to sit up there for another 13 episodes with a lot of droning on. Like, they got it done. They got it done quickly. To me, that's kind of a blessing, but kind of a curse at the same time. And I'm going to get into that at the end when I talk about the things that I don't like about the season. Also, just the acting. The acting is just so amazing. Those scenes that had me, like, on the floor crying, rethinking my life. A lot of good acting was done from Dylan, which is Clay. His name is Dylan Minnette. And then Brandon Flynn, which is, I think that's his name, Brandon Flynn, which is Justin. They had some of the best acting. Oh my gosh, their acting was so good. The even the way that they produced the show, if you don't know, like, they were on top of their game with the makeup. If you don't know, like, throughout like the middle to the beginning of the whole season, Justin had a little mark on his neck, and I thought it was a hickey at first. I'm like, oh, he's getting hickeys. So apparently somebody was riding him in rehab. But no, like, that was the deterioration from his AIDS diagnosis, or his HIV was turning into AIDS, and it was gonna eventually kill him. So when he like dropped to the floor, I automatically was like, oh, he definitely, he's going out. And then the first thing I thought of was either he had like cancer, or he had HIV, or he had AIDS. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And they were hinting to this throughout the whole show. The acting, the costumes, the makeup, it was just out of this world. The scenes that were supposed to make you cry made me cry, and I'm here for it. Also, I like the fact that they tied things back to the original storyline. So basically, Hannah was brought up, the tapes were brought up, and the fact that along with that, we also saw Ryan and Courtney, and I'm like, yes, thank you for bringing back a lot of the people from season one. I think the only person we're missing is Sherry, but I mean, she didn't have a huge role in season one, though I did like her character, because what she actually did end up getting in trouble for the wrong that she did when she ran over the stop sign, and Jeff ended up missing the stop sign and getting into a car crash and dying. She went and she told someone, and she accepted the consequences, which is why I really like Sherry, and I would have loved to see her. But the fact that we got Ryan and Courtney back, and they basically buried all the tapes and they tied it right back to season one, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. They did not leave us with a flat ending. So burying Hannah's tapes, it was so good. It was just like, okay, it's time for a new beginning. We're going to put this all behind us. And I'm like, thank you for tying it back to season one. Because I'm like, while I was watching it, I was thinking, like, it's amazing how far we got away from the original storyline. Like, I'm like, this is kind of crazy. Like, we're heading into a completely different direction than was originally intended. But when they tied it all back, I'm like, yes, I'm so here for it. All right, so those are my favorite things about this season. And so some of the things that I really didn't like about this season were like Clay's hallucinations, I don't it to me it filled up a lot of the space in the season where other things could have happened, and they could have focused more on the mystery. And we're gonna get into that later. That's one of the gripes that I have with this season. So I think like Clay hallucinating and his like, oh, I'm gonna do like all these antics and blow up stuff and set things on fire, and I'm like, I do not want to see this. I do not care. Every time Clay popped up on screen, like sometimes I was just annoyed. I was really just annoyed. I'm like, I'm so tired of him and his drama, and there being two Clays, and then one of them is like going into like do things to the school, and the other one's writing Monty was framed, and I'm like, you guys could have set this up so differently. It could have been done so much better. Like, I did not like that. I did not like Clay's hallucinations. I did not care for his blackouts. It wasn't for me. Also, okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, because I just found out that this is set in California. I really hadn't been paying that much attention the previous seasons, apparently, because I should have been known season one that this was set in California. I don't know the age of consent, but I find it very strange that he has to be at least 18. And I think, what is her name? Monty's sister, I forgot her name. She's at least 14, maybe 15. I don't know, but their age gap is I don't know if it's a little too large for the law. You know, there's like 18, 14 statutory things that can happen. So I don't know. Other than that, their relationship's very cute. So I actually am glad that he's with somebody, but she seems kind of young. A little too young. Almost jaily in a way, you know. Seems very, statutory issues, age issues, prison, offenders, sex offenders, I don't know about all that. Also, on top of like, I just talked about the Clay stuff, but him doing destructive stuff, I'm just gonna bring it back to that point. I'm so tired of him blowing stuff up, and I'm just like, why do you do this? Him fighting people when he was in the station and he was threatening to pop everybody with that non-existent gun he had, and with that non-existent little weapon he had, and I'm just like, why? Like, why? And I'm guessing they did that to be like, oh, it's showing that it was a part of his illness, what he's suffering from. But eventually it just kind of felt redundant. So I did not like that. Also, on top of that camping episode. What was that camping episode? Because somebody explained to me what that camping episode was about. Out of all the episodes, I was like, this is a throwaway episode. Y'all could have focused more on the relationships between the characters. And like, I would have preferred another little scene with Jessica and Justin. Or like, Alex and Charlie or anybody else. But I got so tired of Clay and his nonsense, and then everybody was running, and I'm just like, what is this? Who asked for this episode? Who greenlit this episode? It was so freaking bad. That was an episode I really wish I would have skipped, because to me it didn't add much to the plot. Honestly, I wasn't a fan at all. Just, it was a throwaway. They could have cut so much of that out. I think the creators took all the throwaway scenes and just compiled it and like, you know what, let's just make an episode out of this one. I'm just like, ugh. It's a no from me. Also, oh my god, this was so cringy when Clay was losing his virginity. I was like, no, this is so disgusting. He was just like, and I was just like, ugh. And me and my friend were joking because we talked about the season, and I was like, he lasted longer than his relationship with Audie. I was like, we all know, like, him in the walls lasted like 3 seconds, and his relationship with Ani probably lasted about 2 seconds. So, that lasted. Him getting the cooch lasted a little bit longer than his relationship with Ani. He literally ignored her from like episode 1 to like the very end. He was like, oh yeah, I forgot, we could go to like the dance, I guess. And then he was like, oh yeah, I don't like you anymore. We should just be friends. And she was like, yeah, we should. I'm like, oh. I was like, dang, that is cold. That was so cold. And then on top of that, Clay's creepy smiling. Oh my god. I was like, ugh. I literally had to put my phone down. I'm just like, and then I like paused it. Like I went back and I paused it on his face, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so disturbing. That scene that creeped me out. Just no. So we're gonna get into my thoughts on what could have been done differently. I would have loved to hear The Night We Met by Lord Huron just one more time. Just one more time at some point. But I mean, that song is so iconic to this show. I would have loved to hear it. It's like what they could have done differently, but not something that would have changed the whole season or anything like that. But I would have just loved to hear it in one more song, like, you know, at the dance, just one more time. Because if you remember, Clay cried at that one dance and everybody went to surround him. I think that was in season 2 because that song came on, but I wish they would have flipped it, and instead of crying when that song came on, he would have been like, yeah, yeah. He would have been like, I'm stronger now, I'm stronger now. And like his emotions that were tied to that song would have been a little bit different now that he's kind of made peace with the fact that, with Hannah's death, that would have hit really, really well. So I wish they would have used that. Also, that, ooh, this part made me so mad. I don't know why they put this in here. I didn't like the part when Clay was standing over that college girl and he was thinking about doing it to her and she was passed out, and I'm like, this is like why? Like, it literally goes against everything his character stands for. Clay is like, Mr. Oh no, we don't do that, you know, we don't touch women without their consent. We don't do this, we don't do this. He's such a like kind, sweet guy. He's caring, and he's like everything I feel like a real man should be, in my opinion. In some ways, you know, he's a little off, but he just radiates like big dick energy. Like, he just radiates the kind of guy that you want around you, the kind of guy that you can trust with your whole entire life. So the fact that the writers put this in here, and I'm like, for what reason? Like, what does this accomplish? Is it like saying, oh, Clay's a different person now? I'm like, no, no. Why would you do this? This is not. Clay is like the complete opposite of this person that you have, like, standing over this girl thinking about, like, trying to smash her. And I'm like, this goes against everything his character is about from season 1. Why? Like, that made no sense to me. I don't understand it. Also, the fact that nothing came of Winston knowing who killed Bryce. So it seemed kind of anticlimactic. And I feel like the trailer catfished us. They catfished us because in the trailer they made it look like, ooh, Winston came back and he's starting up all this drama and he's gonna stir stuff up and he's gonna break the group down. But honestly, we find out that it was all Clay. So I'm like, where's all the drama? Like, where's all of this? Like, I don't understand. Winston knowing who killed Bryce and that it wasn't Monty, what did that do for him? I mean, was he peaceful? I mean, I guess. But his whole fight was to, like, stir up the drama and find out and try to prosecute who was lying, yet none of that happened. So I'm like, why? Why? I don't get it. That made no sense to me, and that could have been done differently. They could have actually, like, made this I wish this season would have been more like season 3 with the mystery of who killed Bryce. That season was top tier. That was a top tier season. It had mystery, it had romance, it had the couples together, it was so good. I don't know what happened with this season. For that reason, I didn't care for this season, because it didn't make me have to sit around and guess who was doing what. It was just like, oh, okay, well, Clay was doing stuff, and I'm just like, woo, Clay, scary. So, that didn't hit. Also, the fact that, Clay snaps out of being afraid of Winston when he realizes that he was the one trying to expose everything. But, like, I didn't understand that because he still he still needed to take Winston down at some point, because Winston was still a threat, because if Winston finds out that they framed Monty for Bryce's death, like, he could still take them all down. So I don't understand why they didn't have Clay still go after Winston. I mean, whether he knew that Winston was behind the stuff or not, because it was definitely Clay who was behind all the Monty was framed paintings with the red paint. He was behind all of the drama that he thought Winston was doing. Clay did it himself when he blacked out. But Winston is still a threat because you think that Winston's not going to be here, still trying to figure out who killed Monty and how to get y'all and get y'all in trouble. I don't understand why they didn't develop that more, because Winston was still a threat. I feel like Clay should have went after him at some point, choked him against the wall, and been like, "You better not tell anybody, or I'm gonna have you. I'm already blacking out. You want to see some? You want me to go wild on you? I can go real wild." So I wish they would have developed that a little bit more. It would have added more to the season and added more of the mystery. Also, they made Clay the biggest douche. Oh my god. When Ani helped him get into college in his essay, he barely even said thank you to her. And I'm like, dude, do you realize that your future would have been put on hold if she wouldn't have wrote you that? You know, you probably would have went to prison. You probably would have went to prison if she wouldn't have wrote that essay for you. And then, like, he was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, I did not like Clay very much this season. The writers turned him into such a douchebag. I'm just like, ugh. Everything he said and did, I cringed at. I was just like, ugh. Until like the end where he kind of went back to normal and he was better, or he kind of like figured his things out. He kind of figured his stuff out, and he started acting like the old Clay. This new Clay, I really cannot stand him. He is so disrespectful. He should have at least told that girl, like, thank you. I don't know if I missed it, but I don't even think he told Ani thank you. And I'm like, she literally secured your future so you can go run away with Heidi and have your happily ever after, since him and Heidi, this random at the end of the season, will end up going to Brown together, and they're gonna watch their alien killer robots together. And I'm just like, whatever, just no. So that was all of the things that I wish they would have done differently. So now we're gonna get into my overall opinion of the season. I think the season was adequate. I think it was good. The only thing that makes this season top tier is that ending with Justin and Clay. That was some of the best acting I've seen in a long time. That was so good. And it was absolutely amazing. It was so good. The fact that they had him in the hospital, and that ending with him and with Justin and Jessica when they were crying together, and she had to go get the STD test, and her and Diego. That ending was absolutely great. It was so good. It was really good. The fact that they actually had her go get the test, and I'm like, thank you, because I definitely wanted to see that. It was important for, I feel like, a lot of people to see that, like, you know, we need to be getting tested on a regular basis, especially if, you know, we doing the do, and that's on period. So that was really good to me. But it left a lot to be desired as far as mystery goes. I felt like they were setting it up to be some epic blowout. Who did what? Is the group gonna break up? Is Clay going to prison? But and was their friend group gonna collapse? That was definitely what I wanted to know. And I feel like it was supposed to be like, you know, everybody goes to jail, or like, you know, something crazy was gonna happen. But that the twist was that Justin ended up dying, and that was just, I was like, no, that's not the twist we wanted. It's not the twist we wanted. It was okay, you know, it was fine, but that's not what I wanted to see. I would have preferred a redemption story for Justin more than I felt like victim to the circumstances of my life. That hurt me so bad, because I like to think that people can go through things and then they can overcome them, and they can get better, and they can live like a great life. But apparently that's not the case. That wasn't the case for the writers. They're like, no, we're gonna kill Justin's character off. And I'm like, no. He was trying to go to college. He was trying to make his life different. And the fact that the writers didn't give him the chance to do that hurt me so bad. I'm like, no, we did not want him to go. He shouldn't have died. And that hurts me. Like, I wanted him to live, and I wanted him to go to college and, like, marry somebody and have a great life. Jessica or not, I want him to marry somebody, have a great life, and be like an upstanding member of society and not fall back into his old habits of doing drugs and, prostitution, or like, hand piecing his body out, stuff like that. So I feel like also like I feel like what they messed up on is it felt like halfway through the season they were like, oh no, we're gonna say who's behind everything. It's Clay behind everything, and we're just gonna give viewers a little cute ending where everybody is happy and nobody goes to prison. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of unrealistic, but I get that, like, Alex's dad was covering for him, so that makes sense. But I was expecting something to come of Winston knowing who killed Bryce. Nothing came of it. But he danced with Monty and like a little dream of his, or like a little like fake scene where he danced with Monty, and he just got over it. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, you literally came to this school to stir up drama and to find out what happened to, like, the love of your life, and you find out the other love of your life, which is Alex, which I don't get how he already loved Alex within like the 2 business days that they were together, but okay. But the other love of your life killed the other love of your life, and you're just like, oh, well, I want to protect him because he's such a good person. I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. It doesn't make much sense to me, and I don't. That's for that reason I really wasn't messing with the season too heavy. I feel like season 3 was definitely the best season. Season 3 had me on the edge of my seat. It really did. I would have never guessed that Alex did it. I would have never guessed. So season 3 was definitely more top tier than this one was. But this one did give us a cute ending. It definitely did. Aside from Justin dying, because that hurt me to my core, it did give me a cute ending. It gave everybody a cute ending. So basically, this is the last season we're going to have. This is the final season. I'm so sad because y'all know that I love 13 Reasons Why. I'm just going to talk about 13 Reasons Why as a whole. I definitely did appreciate the ending because, it ended happy. And at the same time, 13 Reasons Why, this is what 13 Reasons Why does for me, and I feel like it should do it for other people. It shows the ripple effects of, self-harm, and it shows how it can ruin more than just one life, and that when one person suffers and they hurt themselves, a lot of other people suffer on top of that. Also, in a way, if you've ever seen the show Degrassi, I feel like Degrassi walked so 13 Reasons Why could run. And don't get me wrong, Degrassi had to put all kinds of disclaimers and all kinds of stuff because people hated Degrassi in its time. Just like people hate 13 Reasons Why in its time, and they think 13 Reasons Why is horrible. But 13 Reasons Why, the same as Degrassi did, talked about a bunch of different topics that just don't get touched on. And it touched on topics that we have to talk about, from sexual health, HIV/AIDS, assault, depression, loneliness, mistakes, taking accountability for your actions, redemption, racism, getting rid of a child, because, I can't say that word, getting rid of a child that you don't want, and also addiction. It talks about all these different topics, and I think that the way that they execute it and the way that the writers wrote it, they executed it in definitely a good way, and it is definitely something to see, and it's something poignant, and it's something to watch. And in my opinion, the show has done a lot for me, and it has taught me some lessons that I feel like otherwise I really wouldn't have been taught, or that nobody really talks about in day-to-day life, and that are really hard to bring up. So that's why I appreciate this show so much. So basically, that is the end of the video. I want you guys to talk about how you felt about this show. Did you like it in its entirety? Did you like this season? What would you have done differently? What were your favorite parts? How did you feel like in it about this season in its entirety? Do you agree with me? Do you feel like this season could have been better? I definitely think that there were some areas that could have made this season a whole lot better. But we're gonna get into that in the comments. I definitely want to hear your guys' opinions. I want to know what you guys thought so bad, so I know like there's going to be a few paragraphs in there, and I definitely am excited to read those. Thank you so much for watching. This video is definitely different from most of my other videos. It's not really a reaction. It's not similar to my previous content. It's more like just me sitting down chatting with you guys about a show that we all like. So thank you so much for watching. Comment your thoughts down below, and I will see y'all next time. Alright, bye.